Welcome everyone to our webinar tonight. We are going to discuss the Department of Licensing in Washington's website for real estate license activation and renewals. Some of you on the call tonight have to renew or will renew in the next month. Some of you that might be listening to the recording, you're probably needing some help on what to do. The website has changed and it's become very complicated to navigate. So tonight we're going to spend some time. I think the Department of Licensing should spend some time, but we're going to go ahead and get a jump start so that the agents that work for Best Choice Realty know how to go and where to go to get the license activated and renewed. I don't know about you, but I'm having a great time right now. If you guys have grandchildren or young ones, I am loving the holiday season. My son, he's actually been really into Ghostbusters. Been showing him a lot of 80s movies. So he's been having a lot of fun with the Ghostbusters theme. And so whenever in my mind, it's like, who are you going to call Ghostbusters? Well, whenever I see the DealWell and the website, I just almost have a panic attack because of all the changes they made to their website and how screwy it's been over the last little bit. They launched their new programs, their new website back in May, and it's been headache all along the way. So whenever I think of my son, who's 3 years old right now, and he's like, who are you going to call? Ghostbusters. I think, who are you going to call? I'm going to call Shannon Hall, our operations manager, who's been dealing and handling all the website. So I asked her we're going to kind of do a role reversal tonight and have her present how to overcome the DealWell website and know some of the best tips and tricks. So she's going to go over that tonight for all of you. And hopefully we get a clean recording so that other Best Choice Realty agents can take advantage of the time that she's spent putting this together. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our Ghostbuster team, Shannon.
Well, I hope we, we should have had some theme music then.
I know we should have.
So, yeah, for some of these people who are listening to the recording, we wanted to put together at least something. There's a lot of new brokers that are new to the industry, never been licensed before, or maybe are coming from other states. So this will also serve as a resource for them as well, so that you know what steps need to be taken to get your license activated with the Department of Licensing. It's been a rocky road, like Rochelle said, since they launched it out. There's been very little communication from the Department of Licensing to the actual brokers and brokerages. And so we like to get as much information out to you guys as we can. This conference call is kind of like a part 2. We kind of did a part 1 in the middle of summer this year. And this is kind of more, we've got all of the pieces. We know all the pieces of the puzzle, at least a lot better. And a lot of the kinks have been worked out with the Department of Licensing, thankfully. So a lot of the headaches that we had very early on have been resolved for the most part. So that's the good news for those of you who are coming up on your license renewals or who are looking to get their license activated. So, first off, I guess we'll start with a little bit of review for those who are already licensed, but for those who are wanting to get their real estate license, the requirements haven't changed. They're still the same. You still have to be at least 18 years old with a high school diploma or equivalent. They have to still take 90 hours of approved real estate classes, 60 hours in real estate fundamentals, and 30 hours in real estate practices. They need to pass the real estate exam. There's certain, you might be able to get the national waived if you've been licensed in other states, but you still have to take the Washington course exam. And one of the things that a lot of brokers, at least during this whole, change that the Department of Licensing got up, there were a couple new brokers even coming to Best Choice where they go, oh, I have to do my fingerprints. And yes, don't forget that step. You need to have a background check, a valid background check. And when you've done, I think, a couple renewals, when you've been in the industry a while, they do have you do another background check at some point. So don't think that you're in the clear for forever. You will need to update your background check at least at some point in the next, 10 years if you've been licensed a while. You can go to the place to get your background check is with Identigo, IDENTIGO. And it's a third party that syncs up with the Department of Licensing's website. And thankfully, I would say since September, there have been very, very few that have had issues with that type of syncing. But by and far, the majority of the time it does work. So go to Identico, schedule your fingerprints. They'll do the background check. And then from that point, you'll be able to go into the SAW site and pay for your license and choose your brokerage. So fairly straightforward. If you're newly licensed, you're not familiar with older systems, it's pretty straightforward. For those that are up for their renewal, this is just a sample of what we're getting. The frustration is real. This is an email I got actually just yesterday and followed up with today. And it says, "Hi, Shannon. I tried to renew my license online. I have my sign in and password, but it's not getting me to the renewal area. I've been renewing online for many years, and now it is hard to do with the new secure system login. Is there any other way? Can I just do a paper renewal? I believe you got my mail from the Department of Licensing because I've not seen it for a while. There's no choice for real estate. Can I just pay someone to do it for me, please? I will pay the cost to renew and the time they take to do it for me. Please, Shannon, I'm very frustrated." This is just a taste of what we're getting for some people who have been licensed for a very long time. It's a new system. It's a little bit different on how you navigate. And because there's been limited communication from the Department of Licensing, there's a lot of frustration. So if you get frustrated, you're not alone. A lot of the questions we can help you with, but the DOL is kind of in the same boat because they haven't really been very forthcoming with communication. They're bogged down in responding to inquiries. So paper renewals and paper applications, they still are accepting, but it can take anywhere between 3 to 5 weeks. Yes, weeks for that to get processed. So it's not by any means the most expedient way to get your license renewed. It is still possible, but it's going to take a very long time. And if you're not, if you have to send your stuff in the mail, it's going to take a while. The system, you can't be used, the older system has no longer been, it's not in existence anymore. They pulled the plug on that in May. And so you have to use this new system. They kind of forced everybody in real estate to start using the system. For Washington State, it is a little bit better in the fact that it is kind of combining a lot of systems together. So if you've got and I think I've got this on another slide, if you've got a license with Department of Revenue, L&I, or Employment Security, you should already have a SAW account, and that's what they call it. They call it the SAW account, Secure Access Washington, and that site is where you'll go to get your renewal. We'll get to that in a little minute. But first, if you're up for your renewal, don't forget to take your classes.
Shannon, right? They're not sending us paper stuff anymore, right?
No.
Renewal paperwork, none of that is actually being sent to the broker anymore.
Correct. Yes.
The managing brokers and the designated brokers to basically go into the online roster and manage your roster from their online system. So if there's a problem where they can't even get you through the online, then they are allowing the paper, like Shannon said, but for the most part, don't come to me and say, "Hey, did they send me a paper?" They stopped doing that in June.
Yeah. One of the top questions we were getting all summer long was, when can I get my pocket license? They're not doing pocket licenses. They didn't even tell us in writing that they weren't doing it. They just stopped doing it. So you're not getting pocket licenses anymore. Their type of solution to that is that you're able to, in your SAW account, download a copy of your physical license that you can print out, have in your office, put in your wallet, whatever. But they're wanting to remove that type of printing cost from the state's budget, and they just eliminated it entirely. So if you're wanting something in the mail like that, it's unfortunately they're putting the burden on you as a contractor to go ahead and do that, which is what all other contractors in the state of Washington have had for many years. So yeah, so that's kind of how you would handle that, I would say. If you're up for your renewal, though, I'm just kind of getting right back on track. Don't forget to take your clock hour renewal classes, a lot of agents that, it creeps up on you so fast. I get it. 2 years goes by so fast. Uh, and I would hate for you to be in the situation where your license is tomorrow and you have this, oh crap moment where you think, oh no, what's going to happen? I have 2 contracts in escrow and my license is expired. I don't ever want you to be in that situation. We don't want any of our agents to be in that situation. So don't forget, make sure you have it queued up on your calendar if you can, so you give yourself plenty of time. If it's your first renewal, it's 90 clock hours. 30 of them are advanced practices. This is straight from the Department of Licensing's website if you're wanting to reference this, but it's 30 hours of advanced practices, 30 hours of real estate law, 3 hours of core, and 27 hours of other continuing education courses. So 90 hours is a lot. And for your first renewal, I would make sure you give yourself plenty of time to renew. And I would give yourself at least, 3 weeks at a minimum for those 90 hours. Because even for online ones where you're trying to get your online classes done, it's going to take, you can only log a certain amount of hours per day. So give yourself plenty of time. 30 hours is the same thing. Give yourself at least 2 weeks, especially if you're working full-time in real estate. You need to have plenty of time. You've got lives, you shouldn't be doing clock hour classes, from 12 a.m. to 8 o'clock at night. That's not realistic. So just give yourself some time and give yourself at least 2 weeks to renew. Where can you get your clock hours? I get this question a lot. Real estate classes, you can go to some online websites like Rockwell or Real Estate School to get your license, your pre-licensing classes or your continuing education classes. Another option too is Best Choice Realty has an approved real estate school with the Department of Licensing to teach clock hour classes. So that is an option for you. We offer them fairly regularly. Any agent who joins Best Choice Realty has the ability to attend one of our contract negotiation classes, which is an automatic, we offer it for free for anybody joining new to Best Choice. They get 3 clock hour classes for attending that class and doing the assignment. And so that is an option there that we offer fairly regularly. And we have other classes as well that will be available. So stay tuned for those as they come available. It's always better to get something that's more real world and from your brokerage rather than something that's more stock from a company that isn't necessarily doing real estate day to day. So keep that in mind.
I would say Rockwell for pre-licensing or somebody that wants to do classes live. I just spoke with the owner of Rockwell just last week, and she said that they just decided to offer their pre-licensing in a live webinar format. So they've got it approved, and so they're doing that and they're having great success with it. So if you have people, maybe friends or family or kids, I mean, my goodness, some of us have kids that age that are getting their real estate license or thinking about it. I would highly recommend Rockwell. They have, in my opinion, I've been into the commission meetings where all of the designated brokers meet, and sometimes they have the school operators that meet to discuss with the state of Washington what changes they need to be made. And Rockwell has always been the company that has done a good job, in my opinion, of testing and training the brokers that sign up with their school to actually pass their exam on the first try. So I can't speak for the other companies. Some of them, in my opinion, don't do as good of a job. They're kind of collecting the money. Rockwell has a pretty good setup for that. But as far as like Renewal, I'm going to take over a little bit, Shannon, here and just plug realestateschool.org. They've been around forever. They're a local company. They're out of, I think, Edmonds, kind of North Seattle area. And they used to be, before realestateschool.org, they used to be Tape Ed, for those of you that's been around a long time, where they'd send you literally the cassette tapes. And I did the renewal with realestateschool.org, and it was pretty easy to do. So I like the ease of use on realestateschool.org. If you're needing a quick 30 hours, you just need to get that done. Just go right to their website, pretty easy to do, and then sign up for their class. And it's online, kind of like record, you listen to the PDFs or you listen to the recordings. Pretty simple to get your 30 hours done.
Yeah, they offer either Rockwell or Real Estate School. They'll have quizzes that you'll need to take as well. That's why we want to make sure you have plenty of time to get all the classes done. If you're doing realestateschool.org, they often have discounts. So go on their website and they offer them fairly regularly. I would say every quarter they have something going on. So if you know that your real estate license is coming up for renewal, just check their website and see if they've got something coming up. Usually it's around the holidays as well. So let's just lean in. So I mentioned the SAW site, Secure Access Washington. I think I mentioned earlier, you might already have one. If you've never logged into this SAW site before, you don't even know what it is, you can go, what the heck is this? You might already have one. Especially if you're running another business or you have another license. I know we have some real estate brokers that are with Best Choice that are licensed appraisers, for instance. They would have an appraiser license, other types of professional licenses, that sort of thing. They would have access to the SAW already, so you wouldn't have to get a new login. The idea is that they're eliminating, a bunch of different websites you're having to go to do essentially accomplish the same thing. So it's eliminating redundancies, but at the same time, it is an adjustment. There's a learning curve for it. And my biggest advice would just be to be patient as much as you can, because they're getting hundreds of emails in a week, and they're getting, dozens and dozens and dozens of phone calls per person every single day. So be patient with it. But this is the link to go to: professions.dol.wa.gov. And we'll do a little bit of a screen share after this next slide, just because I want you to have this handy if you want to take a picture of this or hit pause. But if you ever have issues with using the site, kind of like the first two things I would do a plug for is, are you using Chrome? If you're using Edge or Internet Explorer or something like that, switch out, use Chrome. It's built to be used primarily with Chrome. And if it's still not working, maybe delete some history or cookies from your browser. Usually that can eliminate a lot of the issues that you might have as well. There's a YouTube link that the DOL actually did put out. They didn't really distribute it very well other than posting it on their website, but this is available too. And I can send this out and post this in the YouTube comments for those that are watching on YouTube. But this is the link that they posted out. It actually is fairly, it walked through each of the steps, and I'll kind of briefly go through after we're done with this slide to kind of show you where to go. That YouTube video that the DOL put out is a little bit more in depth, especially for those that have never used a SAW site before. So, and then underneath that, we have Crystal Hackworth. She is our current contact for the Department of Licensing. Since June, we've gone through at least a handful, but this is our current contact that you can email, and the phone line gets routed to about 4 or 5 different people that are in the real estate division. So keep that handy, take a picture of it. If you run into issues, they work pretty quickly. What I found is they may not respond to your email, but they might solve the problem. So if they don't immediately respond to you, check in a day or two and see if they've solved the problem, if it was some sort of glitch or notification that you were getting in on your site. So that's, again, patience on this portion. It is the most frustrating portion. I get it. You're not alone. Everybody's in the same boat, unfortunately. And so with that in mind, I'm just going to quickly switch screens so that you guys can see where you can go to get your license renewed. Bear in mind, though, unfortunately, because of the new site, their biggest plug that they're having is security. So I can't log in as you, and someone else cannot log in as you. It is a lot more secure. They do multiple different checks. They're called MFA, multi-factor authentications, to make sure that you are who you say you are when you're logging into someone's professional license. So I can only show you so much, unfortunately, because it is Rochelle's and my licenses. So
back in the day, we could go in and log in for them, right? We had.
Yes.
So, unfortunately, we can't get paid anymore, Shannon, to help
no.
these.
No, unfortunately, I can't take your money and do this for you. It's on you. Unfortunately, the Department of Licensing has put the burden as you as a contractor to take on managing your license. I will say, however, and I'll show you this when I get to that page, but they do make it fairly simple for you to add yourself to real estate brokerages and also to release your license if for some reason that comes up. That system has improved considerably. So that is kind of the good news, but it doesn't really help you with your renewal, unfortunately. But let me get to this page and I can walk you guys through this.
I mean, Shannon's been on the phone for hours too with Crystal. So it's like, trying to solve some of the technical problems that a lot of you guys were experiencing. So yes, the struggle is real. We feel it just as much as you have. We've sat there while this thing spinned and spin. So we're actually having better success with it now. So hopefully for you coming up on renewal, it should be fairly straightforward.
Right. So I'm kind of skipping forward a couple steps just because we already have our account set up. But when you type in professions.dol.wa.gov, if you don't already have an account, there's a way for you to, hit request username or something like that. Go through the steps. If you don't know, it's better to check. They can't do duplicate logins or anything like that. So it's just better to check to see if you've got one first. Once you've got in, they'll do what's an MFA, like I mentioned earlier, multi-factor authentication. For someone like me who goes in all the time, it's really irritating because I'm constantly having to verify whenever I log in. But for you, just make sure you have your email or your phone handy, and it can quickly give you that code so that you can get into your license. Once you're there, this is what your dashboard will look like. And from here, you'll be able to, if you're new, you'll be able to click apply for professional license and go through the steps there for your license activation. If you are renewing, you'll click on professional licenses. If you've not linked your professional license, you have to first link your existing license. It'll say link professional, professional license right here instead of manage. And you'll make sure that you click on Department of Licensing and that it's a professional, not a business licensing. There'll be an option for the two. Just make sure it's professional, not business. But from there, you can click in multiple places that manage existing professional license or click on professional licenses on the top. They both go to the same place. And from there, you'll see another mini dashboard. And from here, it'll show you what your license number is. This one is Rochelle's. So it's 18762 is her license number. From here, you see that she's not up for renewal. Hers expires in 2021 next year. If it was up for renewal fairly soon, you would see an option here under action that says it'll offer for you to renew. It'll say renew, and you click the button, you go through the application process. It'll ask you, if anything has changed in terms of legal issues, background check, that sort of thing. If there is, make sure you're truthful, and then it'll get you to a portal where you can pay for your license renewal. So that's how you can renew, is a little button that should pop up. If you have issues and things are not showing as they should, use that information that was on the screen previously. And I'll have that up here at the end of after my screen share, so you guys can take a picture of it if you haven't already. The other option is once you're here, if your mailing address has changed, I know some people, they move. As you move, just make sure you update your license just like you would with your driver's license, right? You go into your portal and update your mailing address. And same thing for your legal name. As we've had a couple agents that got married, and as that happens, just make sure you update your legal name as well, so it's accurate for consumers. If you have once you have your license here, 18762, if you click on that, it'll take you to another dashboard. So again, patience, guys, patience. But from here, you'll be able to, this button here, generate your license. I know we've got a couple agents that were asking me for pocket licenses. This is essentially the Department of Licensee's response to that, is that you can go into your site and generate your license. It takes a couple minutes, but from there, you just do a self print and you're able to PDF it and download it. We've got quite a few licensees, so it's I'd have to find it, but you'll be able to just click generate and then open it in a PDF. So that's kind of how that works. If you've got other licenses, you can access them here. They'll show here. So if you have a appraiser license, or you are some sort of other license that you have, professional licenses, they'll all list right here. So if you've got an appraiser license, it'll list that license number as well as the renewal dates for those as well. So it is combining systems.
Will it show if I have to do fingerprints? Will it show in this page right here?
As far as I know, not yet. They have not released any kind of information about that, and I've not discovered it because they haven't released anything like that yet. So if you have issues with that, or if you've got questions, you really shouldn't have to do fingerprints unless you're up for a renewal. So if it's popping up and you're up on this site and your renewal is not, say, within the next couple months, I would be, doesn't sound right. And if that's the case, I would certainly contact them, because it shouldn't be prompting you to do fingerprints unless you're up for renewal.
I know that at the last commission meeting, Shannon, they talked about there was an automatic email that went out to a lot of tenured agents. I got it. I got an email as well saying I'm up for renewal for my fingerprints. And they had indicated a lot of designated brokers complained about it because it was triggering they were trying to work out the kinks, because what they want to do is when you are up for your fingerprints, they want to send an email notification ahead of that.
Yeah.
But they touched something wrong on the technology. So I think a lot of people know about.
Yeah. I actually had an agent recently who he did his fingerprints, bless his heart, he did his fingerprints like he was asked to, but he really didn't need to, is way it worked out. Unfortunately, the Department of Licensing didn't get back to him, and he didn't reach out to them in time. He had already done it. He was being so good. So if you are not up for renewal, I would think twice before you go and schedule your fingerprints and your background check.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's kind of how you navigate this site. I wish I could show you a little bit more in depth, but unfortunately I don't have a license that I can show you, just because there is not that look over your shoulder kind of concept with this site. So if you've got issues, you're welcome to call me. If you're encountering issues, some of them I can solve. If not, then you would reach out to the Department of Licensing, and let me get that information handy so you guys can take a picture of that again. But they're the ones who would be ultimately responsible for that, to make sure that you get that there. But it is your responsibility as a real estate license to make sure your license is in good standing and active at all times. If it's not, then you run the risk of not being able to practice real estate. So it's very, very important. So make sure that you don't forget about your hours. Don't forget when your license renewal date is coming up. So put that on your calendar and make sure that you make that a priority.
I think at some point they'll figure out their automatic notification system, but for now, I don't think it's working.
I know. I would hope so. It's Washington State. I have full hope that we're in a technology kind of based state, that they'll get with the times and be able to have a little bit better of a communication. The Northwest MLS has been very good about communicating a lot of the updates, but unfortunately, a lot of them are not being patched through. So just, if you can, just help me and see if you can get your SAW account set up. That eliminates a lot of questions, at least for the Department of Licensing, and that will eliminate a lot of frustration on your end. Because once that's done, it actually is pretty much a breeze from there on. So that would be kind of my word of advice.
So the biggest takeaway for tonight's call, even if you're not up for renewal, is to go in and make sure you can log into a SAW account.
Yes.
Just you can print your license, or you can see when your renewal.
Yes.
Okay. And if you have problems, then call you. Is that
they're welcome to call me, or they can call or use the YouTube video that's listed here. It should be simple. If it is not simple, then we probably have a problem. And I would say for 98% of the people, it's not a problem, but there is that 2%. So if you are part of that 2%, give yourself even more time, because it's going to be a huge headache for you. And unfortunately, it's just a numbers game. You should have a SAW account if you applied for unemployment. ESD is part of that type of site. So if you ever did that, you might actually have the same login and password that you had on that site. It'll be the same.
Great. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Wow, you got 6 o'clock straight up. Taking over the webinars anytime soon. How did she do, you guys? I thought that was awesome. Any questions you want to set in the chat? Looks like Mary got the same email about the fingerprints too, Shannon.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Mary. I mean, it's just, it happens to quite a few people. So just disregard if you're not actually up for renewal.
Well, any other questions out there? chat or otherwise. Hopefully this was helpful. I thought it was helpful. I honestly, I gave up on the site back in June or July and just called Shannon, and Shannon took care of it. But now I think I'm comfortable with you just showing me a few things. I'm comfortable going in there and be able to download my license. So that I think was a home run. If I can feel comfortable doing that at this time, that's great. And then having a few different websites to check if I need to get my classes done. So I know there's a lot of other classes or other schools that you guys might want to check out, you know, that are not the ones we recommended. That's fine. Just make sure that they are on the, there is like a PDF document on the Washington State website that basically has all of the course numbers and all of the schools that offer what courses. So if you're going off the grid and want to do your own thing, that's fine. Just make sure that it is a school that's approved in Washington State.
Yeah. Another question I just got from Cyrus. Yes. So as a real estate broker and as a contractor, the burden of proof is on you to make sure that you manage your clock hour classes, ones that you take periodically. If you've taken them with Best Choice, we can certainly look up those certificates for you and send them to you. But we send them to you after you've taken the class, and it's your responsibility as an agent to store them. For me personally, for my renewal, I just have a little folder in my email that says clock hours, and whenever I get emails from all those classes that I attend throughout the year, I just bucket them in the folder and make sure I have them for my renewal. I would say that the Department of Licensing audits clock hour renewals more than probably anything else when it comes to real estate. So make sure that when you certify that you have taken all of your clock hour classes, when you renew your license on the Department of Licensing's website, that you have in fact done that. The last thing you need is to be audited and you be in that situation where you hadn't finished your classes, but you paid for the license ahead of time. Make sure that the dates add up because they will audit that and they will check that. Okay.
So there's another chat I think that came in, Shannon, sorry. Renewal's coming up, but she's not received any information. And that's happening for a lot of people. So if your birthday, that's kind of a sign, if your birthday's coming up, there is a chance that you might be up for renewal. So
Yeah.
I say, Sherry, go into create the SAW account and see. It should post when you're up for renewal.
Yeah. And if you guys have questions about that, I mean, if you just call our office line, we can certainly look up when your license is set to expire. We keep track of all of that. So just give us a buzz, we can look that up super quick for you. It's also available to the public on that SAW site. It's not password protected by any means, but there's a way where you can click license lookup and it's public knowledge, right? And so you're able to look up when your license was first activated and also when it's set to expire. So if you have a question about it, you can either call us or you can certainly look it up yourself as well.
Yeah, I think that hopefully they answered your question. Cyrus, though, on your question, it's like a verification. So they will audit. I get about 20 audits a month.
Yeah.
So that they will actually check to make sure that people that are up for renewal, that indeed they did complete their classes, and they'll kind of do a verification check with me to see if I can also check in with all of you. So if you have not been audited, be prepared at some point you might be.
Yeah, you might be one of the lucky unicorns out there, but I would say I think what the last meeting I went to for the education thing, it was saying that 1 out of 3 is audited. So it's very, very likely that you will be audited at some point.
For your license. Good. Mm-hmm. Awesome. I think that's it for tonight. You guys enjoy the holiday season, and we will go ahead and resume our webinars next Monday. So if you're in town and you want to just dial in, that's what's nice about Zoom. We have the ability to do these trainings. So we'll catch you next Monday. Have a good Christmas.
Bye, everyone.